Combat is at the core of your progression in Outriders, and no matter how good you are at the game, there's always something you can do to tweak your performance and reach that next level. Hey there friends, it's Codiak here, one half of the team behind Legacy Gaming, and today we're diving in and breaking down some advanced combat techniques that can help kick your gameplay into high gear. I want to be very clear with you guys right off the bat. There are going to be players that watch this video and get nothing out of it. Those of you on the bleeding edge already know what we're going to talk about. This video is for you, the casual player that's stuck on World Tier 6, getting relentlessly murked, and you're starting to lose hope. Between myself, Livid, and our core group of friends, we have hundreds of hours accumulated in this game, with many of us already reaching World Tier 15 in the story and Challenge Tier 15 in expeditions. I don't bring that up just to flex, everyone takes the game at their own pace, but when it comes to looter shooters, we're in our element, and we wanted to take this opportunity to share some of the things we've picked up along the way, and hopefully you guys get something out of it. If you do, we'd love your support. Drop a like on the video, and who knows, maybe even consider subscribing to the channel. It's completely free for you, and it really does help us out a ton. Cover is for cowards. Remember that line from the trailer? Yeah, it's bullshit. Cover can and should be used, but only in the right situations. It always depends on the scenario that you find yourself in. For example, if you're running dangerously low on health, have no anomaly powers up, and have no way to recover health, you can use cover to buy yourself enough time for the auto health regen system to kick in. Sitting behind cover and firing your weapon isn't the intended goal. It's to give your character those precious few seconds to let things come off cooldown. The enemy AI in Outriders isn't bad, and if you sit too long in cover, the enemy is designed to push you out via a grenade volley or just physically rushing you. I found throughout my playthroughs that I'd occasionally mess up a rotation, which would completely throw off my entire flow. This usually resulted in me having to use cover as a way to reset and get everything lined back up. I wasn't using cover because I wanted to hide behind something and pick off targets from a distance, I was using it to buy myself time. Cover is also a double-edged sword, and there are specific mods that reward you for either staying in cover or staying out of cover. These mods aren't bad and can be used to great effect as long as you play to their strengths. There's nothing wrong with creating an offensive build that relies on cover, but it goes well beyond that, and I think we should be clear that cover is multifunctional. I also want to mention that some forms of cover are breakable. There's not a lot of destructive elements in the game, but there are breakable walls and even explosive barrels that can help you in a pinch or screw you when you're under the wrong circumstances. It's important to identify these as soon as you enter the battlefield and paint a mental image in your head as to where is truly safe and where isn't. Cover is definitely not for cowards, and the smartest players will recognize when in fact it's time to take a second and regroup. One of the hardest things to do in Outriders is rush a strongpoint, or a place filled with enemies hiding behind cover, but I found that there is actually a really decent way to bridge that gap when necessary. Since moving from cover to cover isn't always a great strategy, you can actually fire at enemies and force them to take cover. I wouldn't call it a true suppression system, but if an enemy is shooting and you start to shoot back, they'll quickly hide behind their cover, giving you a window to approach unchallenged. You can even apply this tactic to multiple enemies in a particular area, just put a few bullets near each one of their heads and watch as they duck behind cover. This is more important for classes like the Trickster or Devastator that rely on being in close range to enemies for a number of reasons. The last thing you want to do is sit back with a tactical variant assault rifle when your entire kit is designed for close range combat. This strategy helps solve that problem. It's not a big deal in smaller maps, but when you're faced with an open courtyard and your enemies are 100 meters away, it becomes a lifesaver and is one of the reasons I was able to push progression as a solo Trickster. Of course, you can always use your engage abilities, but those pesky cooldowns will get in the way, so having a backup plan is always valuable. When it comes to elite enemies like the Ironclads, Cremators, and Warlords, they are always moving, albeit slowly, but always moving. If you see a skull on your minimap, that means there is an elite enemy on the battlefield, and you need to start formulating your plan of attack. In Outriders, minor enemies are just as capable of killing you as elite enemies, and when both are in the mix, you'd better have a plan. This kind of goes back to the first point about cover, but we're going to double down on the concept when elites are in the mix. If you're far enough away from the elites, it's always best to focus on closer minions that are a more immediate threat. But as soon as elites get within the killing range, or the range you feel like you can effectively chunk down their HP, it's time to shift your focus to them. Because remember, each weapon has an effective range, and if you're attacking targets that are too far away, you're not going to be doing optimal damage. It goes without saying that the best way to handle elite enemies is to line up the biggest possible burst that you can, saving any and all abilities that will directly impact that encounter with an elite until the very moment you have to confront them. Just keep in mind that once the elite is dead, you'll still have to contend with the other enemies in an area. The key here is to engage when you're ready, but know that these elite foes are always moving towards you. It's easy to get cornered given the limited encounter areas in Outriders, so always have your next move planned and be ready to strike when the time is right. I didn't want to dive too heavily into mods in this video because Livid and I plan on fully covering mods in much greater details down the line. But there's one mod across the board I think is just too important not to mention, and that's Perpetuum Mobile, which instantly replenishes a magazine if you kill an enemy with less than 35% of your magazine remaining. In short, this mod allows you to keep firing your weapon indefinitely, and that means you can keep your bullet augmentation abilities like Twisted Rounds or Blighted Rounds or Volcanic Rounds pumping into targets non-stop. There's no use in denying it. The rounds abilities are the most imbalanced in the game, and until a balance pass happens, we're going to lean hard into that concept. With Perpetuum Mobile on your weapon, you're never going to need to reload, never going to stop firing anomaly-infused bullets, and ultimately, never die. Yes, it's just that good. If you've experimented with this mod, you know what I'm talking about, but if you haven't, do yourself a favor and just give it a whirl. I hate to think that there's a meta forming in the game, but I've been around looter shooters long enough to know that the best things just rise to the top, and Perpetuum Mobile is the real deal. Now this next one might seem a bit strange to players who aren't on the upper tier of expeditions or even in the higher world tier range, but let us tell you, when you are playing in groups, this could be the difference in success and failure. When you or an ally are about to go down and you know it's going to happen, immediately try and at least beeline for a spot that has a bit of cover so that you can enter that down state in a place that's relatively safe. Even if you have one self-res left, you should never be consuming this immediately after dying. The self-res in co-op is one of the most valuable things in high-tier content, at times allowing enemies to shift focus on those still alive, letting you res to be the perfect flank to support your team. If you always aim for a place with cover before going down, your teammates can revive you while in cover, meaning that they'll be safe and your personal res will still be available in emergencies. This one may seem like a no-brainer, but I've witnessed it countless times in random players who have joined my expeditions. You should not be tunnel visioning on shooting enemies when there are clear threats that can close the gap and knock you out. At a certain range, your mind should go from fire, fire, fire to I need to prep my dodge to bait this attack. Used correctly, and you can buy yourself crucial seconds to heal or get that last bit of DPS in. Going back to revives for a second, baiting out a boss's gap closing ability or stun can allow you to immediately reposition and get that down teammate and safely revive them. Once you get this sort of thing mastered, we guarantee you will be more successful in all of your adventures. Believe it or not, for any of you familiar with the walls, doors, and various barriers you can knock down denoted by the blue objective icon, it actually matters in co-op who activates these. When a player activates the objective markers, their skills get refreshed, and the others on the team, unless it's a cutscene, will still have to worry about their cooldowns. Why this matters is in something like expeditions, where abilities such as Blighted, Twisted, and Volcanic Rounds will be heavily used. Maintaining their uptime is crucial to competing with the enemies. The teammate with their abilities most on cooldown or closest to being on cooldown should always take priority in activating these sections, as it means your entire team will maintain their firepower going forward. The easiest way to communicate this is just in voice chat. Now this next one might seem obvious to a lot of you, but one of the biggest reasons players are hitting walls when progressing through the content is not entirely the difficulty of the enemies or the world tiers, but a big part of it comes down to you constantly forming a working build every time you upgrade or change your gear. Even if you're wearing blues, take those to the crafting station and get a complete synergy of mods slapped on there, such as the ones that fully enable a Blighted or Twisted Rounds build with ammo regeneration. Something like that makes your power cap so much higher than if you're just slapping on items and picking nodes all willy-nilly. World tiers are designed to challenge you, and when you level up a world tier but don't level up your build, you're going to feel like you're hitting a brick wall. Every time you reach that next level, the next opportunity you have to craft your gear again, you should be taking it. The last thing you want is to go into higher world tiers and just constantly die, because that's going to slow down your progression and prevent you from ever reaching that next world tier. We're talking about some slight convenience here with the crafting system that will ultimately save you hours down the line. And there you have it, friends, all of the advanced combat tips we think it's important to share with players playing Outriders. We know that there's probably a lot of you watching this video and already knowing everything, so if you have tips or tricks or advanced combat strategies you want to share, please let us know in the comment section below. We're all about spreading knowledge here at Legacy Gaming. We'd love your input. You can also join us on Discord. We've got a great community of over 6,000 members, with almost 500 of those members in there just for Outriders, so check out that link below and join today. My name is Codiak, and from everyone here at Legacy Gaming, thanks for watching, and play on.